When Emily Foster first laid eyes on the house at 147 Wisteria Court, she didn't believe the rumors. As a real estate photographer for over a decade, she'd seen her share of strange properties. Houses with mirrors covering every surface, secret basements, and even a panic room filled with porcelain dolls. But this one had a reputation that even the HOA wouldn't speak about out loud. "I wouldn't go inside there if I were you," the HOA's assistant secretary, Marcia Bell, warned her while handing over the keys. "We don't even assign trick-or-treaters that house during Halloween." Emily chuckled, thinking it was just another suburban legend. "Well, I just need a few wide-angle shots of the foyer, kitchen, and backyard. Shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. Marcia crossed her arms, lips tightening. "Just don't go past the second floor. And whatever you do, don't open the door beneath the stairs." That got Emily's attention. "What's behind it?" Marcia only shook her head. "Some doors shouldn't be opened." The sun was just starting to dip as Emily parked her SUV in front of the house. It stood quietly at the end of the cul-de-sac, its yard overgrown but the structure surprisingly intact. Peeling paint, cracked shutters, and an aura of abandonment clung to it like a wet shroud. Still, it didn't look cursed. Not really. As Emily entered the house, a wave of cold air greeted her, out of sync with the summer heat outside. Dust motes floated in the air, and the hardwood floor creaked beneath her boots. She started unpacking her camera gear when something caught her attention: the door under the staircase. It was smaller than a regular door, maybe 4 feet tall, with iron hinges and a dark brass knob. As she got closer to it, a chill prickled the back of her neck. "Nope," she muttered, turning away. The rest of the house photographed beautifully in a tragic kind of way: faded wallpaper, grand windows, and intricate crown moldings that whispered of a better time. She moved upstairs to capture the old bedrooms, each one echoing with the lives that had once filled them. In the master bedroom, a dusty canopy bed still stood, its fabric rotting. A jewelry box sat open on the vanity, empty but with a dried rose inside. That's when she heard the whisper. It was faint, like wind pushing through a crack, but it was unmistakable. "Help me." Emily froze. Her camera beeped softly as it finished processing the last shot, but she didn't move. The voice came again. Downstairs. She turned slowly, heart pounding. "Hello." She called out, but the house remained silent. Adrenaline kicked in, and Emily bolted downstairs. She was done. Whatever was going on in this house was no longer her concern. But as she reached the front door, her body stopped. Not by choice. Her hand wouldn't lift. Her feet wouldn't step forward. It was as if the air around her had thickened, grown heavy. And then, the door under the stairs creaked open. Inside was darkness. Not the ordinary kind, but thick and velvet-like. It didn't recede with the hallway light. Instead, it seemed to absorb it. Emily backed away, but something in the shadows moved. A small figure. She squinted. It looked like a child, maybe 7 or 8, crouched low, staring at her with wide, pale eyes. Who are you?" Emily managed to whisper. The child didn't speak, just pointed a trembling finger upward, toward the master bedroom, then disappeared into the dark. The door slammed shut with a violent bang. Emily fled. She didn't stop to pack her camera. She didn't lock the front door. She drove straight to the HOA office, burst in, and demanded answers. Marcia wasn't surprised. "We told you not to open it." "I didn't. It opened on its own. There was a kid inside." Marcia's face turned pale. She sat down, hands trembling. "That's not a child," she said quietly. "That's Elena." Back in 1982, the house belonged to the Whitmore family: architect Charles Whitmore, his wife Helen, and their 2 daughters, Samantha and Elena, aged 12 and 7. One winter evening, Charles returned home to find the house empty. No sign of Helen. No trace of Samantha. And the youngest daughter, Elena, was never found. Days turned to weeks, then months. The house was searched top to bottom. Locals even pulled up floorboards and dug through the backyard, convinced the family had been murdered. The only clue? The door under the staircase, locked from the inside. But when authorities finally forced it open, it was empty. No body, no blood, no answers. And that's when the sightings began. People who bought or rented the home rarely stayed longer than a week. Some left in the middle of the night, abandoning their furniture. Others reported nightmares, missing pets, and seeing a small girl with wide eyes, crawling on the walls or whispering from under beds. The HOA tried to condemn the property, but every time they pushed for demolition, the town's approval would stall. Permits would disappear. And anyone involved? Accidents. Fires. 2 officials even died in mysterious circumstances.
Eventually, they stopped trying.
Wisteria Court became just another place where the lawn never got mowed and no one dared park near the curb. But now, something had changed. Emily hadn't just seen the girl, she had interacted with her. And that meant the house was awake again. Marcia leaned in. "You didn't touch her, did you?" Emily shook her head.
No.
"Then there's still time." "For what?" "To seal the door. Before she crosses over." Emily didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Elena. Those pale eyes, the fragile finger pointing toward the stairs, the whisper echoing, "Help me." By morning, the fear had hardened into resolve. She had to know the truth. If there was even the slightest chance that the spirit of a little girl was trapped in that house, she had to find out what really happened. Not for the HOA, not for a story, just for Elena. Emily returned to Wisteria Court at noon, armed with more than just her camera. She'd brought her friend Luis Ortega, a history professor with a passion for local folklore. He'd already heard whispers about the house. More than that, he came prepared, with a copy of the original floor plans and a handheld EMF detector. "I've seen some strange stuff in my life," Luis said, studying the darkened windows. "But this place feels like it's hiding something inside its bones." They stepped inside, and immediately the atmosphere shifted again. The air was still stale, heavy, but now it watched them. "I want to go back to that room under the stairs," Emily said. Luis nodded, but stopped her before she could reach for the door.
"Wait.
"There's something you should know." He unrolled the blueprints. "This house has a hidden sub-basement, not listed in the modern records. It was added by Charles Whitmore himself. See the section beneath the stairs and stretching out under the backyard? That's where the original servants' quarters were, but it was sealed after the renovations." Emily stared. That's why the girl pointed upstairs. She didn't mean the bedroom. She meant the entrance to below. Luis tapped the blueprints. "And there's something else. The original owner before Whitmore? He was a war surgeon, a recluse. Built this place during World War I. Rumor is, he used the sublevel for experiments." Emily's stomach turned. They opened the door under the stairs. It was darker than before, and the chill had deepened. Emily turned on her flashlight. A narrow passage sloped down into the earth, lined with old bricks and wooden beams warped with moisture. The air reeked of rot and time. As they moved forward, the EMF reader in Luis's hand began to beep, slowly at first, then faster. They reached a small wooden door. Luis paused. "We go in together." Inside, the room was surprisingly intact. A child's bed, a bookshelf, old toys, a cracked mirror, and, in the corner, a diary. Emily picked it up carefully. The cover was soft with age, but the name was still visible, Elena Whitmore. They opened the diary. The entries started sweet and innocent. Descriptions of her cat, playing in the garden, her sister's jokes. But soon, the tone darkened. "Mommy and Samantha sleep all day now. Daddy says not to wake them. The basement is cold, and the girl down here is nice. She says she wants my face. Daddy locked the upstairs. He says it's safer for me down here. I hear scratching under the bed. Samantha is in the mirror now." Emily felt her throat tighten. These weren't stories. These were cries for help. Luis whispered. "He trapped her down here. To protect her, or to protect us from her." Suddenly, the EMF reader went dead. The flashlight flickered. And then, the mirror cracked. Emily gasped. A shadow was moving behind it. A face emerged. Not Elena. Samantha. Her reflection moved differently, head twitching, eyes black, mouth gaping in a silent scream. She reached through the mirror, her hand almost breaking the surface. Emily and Luis backed away. The mirror exploded with a piercing sound, spraying glass across the room. Behind them, the small bed began to rise from the ground, hovering in the air. And then they heard the voice. "Help me, she's coming." It was Elena again, but this time, not just a whisper. She stood in the doorway, more real now. Her dress was torn, her face pale, but her eyes were human. "Elena," Emily whispered. "We found your diary." Elena shook her head. "It's not me you need to save." Luis turned. "What do you mean?" She pointed upward. "He's still in the house." They fled the room, bolting up the stairs just as the floor behind them began to crack. Screams erupted from below, inhuman, guttural. Back on the ground floor, Luis looked pale. "Who's still in the house?" Emily knew. Charles Whitmore. Not his body. His presence. She grabbed her phone and dialed Marcia from the HOA. "Whatever you know about Whitmore, tell me now." Marcia's voice was trembling. "Charles was never found. Some say he went mad after his wife and daughters vanished. Others say he sealed them in to keep them from spreading something." Luis added, "Maybe he wasn't trying to keep spirits in. He was trying to trap something evil, so it wouldn't escape." They returned to the master bedroom, the one where Emily had first heard the whisper. The air was colder now. The walls seemed to pulse. And then the closet door creaked open. Inside was a stairwell. Not down. Up. Luis checked the blueprints again. "There's no attic listed." They climbed. The attic was filled with cobwebs and dust, but in the center stood a chair. An old one, with straps. And on the walls, photographs.
Hundreds of them.
Elena.
Samantha.
Helen. Each photo more disturbing than the last. But it was the last picture that froze Emily's blood. Her. Standing in the hallway yesterday, with the girl in the background. The photo hadn't been taken by her camera. It was pinned to the wall, with fresh ink. "This is impossible," Luis whispered. A cold voice echoed in the attic. "The house remembers everyone who enters." They turned. In the corner, something rose. Not Charles, but what remained of him. A shadowy form, made of dust and hate and time. "You let her out," the voice rasped. "Now I must take her place." It lunged. Emily screamed as the attic warped around them. Luis tackled the figure, but his arms passed through it. Emily grabbed one of the old photo frames and smashed it on the floor, revealing something behind it, a key. She snatched it and turned to Elena, who had appeared behind them again. "What does it open?" Elena's voice was shaking. "The true room. Behind the mirror. Where Samantha waits." The house shifted. Walls began to bend. Doors appeared where there had been none. Luis and Emily ran, led by Elena through the house's constantly changing maze. Finally, they reached the main hall again. The mirror, now whole again, glowed faintly. Emily used the key. The mirror rippled like water. Luis grabbed her hand, and they stepped through. On the other side was a prison of souls. Faces floated in the dark. Elena's mother, her sister, neighbors long gone. Trapped between time and space. Samantha stood at the center, her body flickering between human and something else. "Elena," she hissed, "you left me." Elena stepped forward. "I was just a child. You were the only one strong enough to resist. You ran away, left us with him." Emily saw the truth now. Samantha had become a vessel. Not for a ghost, but for whatever Charles had tried to contain. She whispered to Luis, "We have to get Elena out. She's the key, not the curse." Luis nodded. "Then let's break the mirror." Emily pulled out the old diary. "Elena, this is your story," she said.
"Take it."
"Finish it." Elena touched the diary. Light exploded from her hands. The faces screamed. Samantha lunged. But this time, Elena stood her ground. "You're not me anymore," she said. "You're what he made you. But I'm free." A blast of energy erupted. S.